Welcome to Over 40, Fabulous and Pregnant. I am your host, Jamie Massey, and you're listening to episode 93. If you're looking for pregnancy stories of women over 40, you've come to the right place. And today on the show, we have Kayla on to share her pregnancy journey at 41. Kayla is a special guest to me, as many of the guests are, but Kayla and I became friends on Instagram after years of chatting back and forth about our journeys. Then our babies were born less than a week apart, and we began texting daily about postpartum life. She pushed me when I needed it, and I pushed her. We compared notes of our babies all the time. She was an amazing support for me, and it would be amazing if we all had postpartum buddies, friends to lean on. And in this episode, Kayla shares her experience with being on birth control for so long and getting pregnant after it. She shares her first pregnancy and loss. Then her struggle to get pregnant a second time and what things helped her. And her birth story that started out at 35 weeks, and her struggles to taking her baby home. She also did something special with her breast milk that she shares with us. And for listener feedback, I hope you enjoy this short segment, by the way. We have an anonymous. She says, "So glad I stumbled on this page. I'm 42 and will be 43 when I deliver in October. A single mom by choice, using my own frozen eggs from 38 years old. An amazing pregnancy so far, but I haven't been public with it yet." Well, anonymous. I will not share her name, but she's a very unique name, so I didn't want to share it. But congratulations on your pregnancy. I'm so glad your pregnancy is amazing, and I'd love for you to come on the show whenever you're ready. And you know, it's funny because sometimes I ask women to be a guest on the show and they say things like, "I thought you never ask." And I'm like, don't be afraid. If you want to be on the show and you're postpartum of 10 weeks or so, don't be afraid to just contact me and let me know your age and your pregnancy and a little bit what's going on, and we can get something scheduled. It's so fun and therapeutic to share your story. Really, I think I turned one gal down because she didn't know how to speak English and she wanted her dad to be the translator on the show. And I was like, "Thank you. That's really sweet, but I have to say no." So ladies, bring it. Let's go. Also, before we begin, I have a disclosure with this show. The first half of the audio is a little echoey, and then she lives close to a train track, so you'll hear that one go by. And so, there's additional sound effects to this episode, but her episode is so worth sharing. And with that, let's get into Kayla's story. Kayla, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And Kayla is on to share her pregnancy journey at 41. And Kayla is a very special guest to me. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Kayla Schmidt. I was born in Bay City, Michigan. I grew up in Arizona for most of my life. I recently moved back to Michigan about 8 years ago, and that's when I met Ryan, who's my husband. So now, anyways, and so yeah, it changed my life coming back home.
Kayla, where did your journey start with you and your husband starting a family?
I never really wanted to have kids. Not really sure what exactly changed me, the biological clock ticking, but I just decided one day that I wanted to try, and we kind of agreed on that and wanted to see where it would happen.
So y'all were already married whenever y'all kind of discussed having kids.
Yep. Together, we have been now almost 8 years.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. Tell us, because Gerald is not your first pregnancy, tell us a little bit about your pregnancy and where it began.
So once I decided to try to have kids, I was on birth control and had been for about 26 years. So I just stopped taking it, and everything I read online said it could take 6 months to a year, maybe more than that. And I wasn't really expecting anything to happen, but within 4 weeks, I was pregnant.
4 weeks?
Yep,
I
very
didn't know it
fast.
happened that fast.
Yeah, I was shocked too. I don't think we were expecting that to happen.
Yeah, because they do. They're like, it's going to take forever in your body to
And
adjust.
my age and
Wow.
everything at the time, so I was had a lot working against me, I
Yeah.
thought. But yeah, it happened very fast for us, and we were very lucky.
Yeah. So what happened then?
The unfortunate part was after I found out I was pregnant, they during the first ultrasound they kind of said that there was something going on, something wasn't right. And we had some testing done, and it turned out that she had trisomy 18. And so it's like a chromosome
Mm-hmm.
disorder where they have an extra chromosome 18, and it's not a viable pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're born, they won't live more than a few minutes, maybe a few days. There are rare cases where they survive, but it's not very common. And they
Mm-hmm.
get, they're deformed, and it's just kind of not something that you can carry through. She did end up,
Mm-hmm.
we did end up losing her when I was 11 weeks pregnant. So
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty tough.
And when did you know about this sonogram and when something was off, I guess you could say?
I was about 8 weeks pregnant when I found, well, I was about 7 weeks pregnant when I found out, and then I scheduled the appointment, and it was about 2 months pregnant when they did the ultrasound.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That is tough.
And it was, something that even the ultrasound tech could see there was something not right with the embryo. So,
Mm-hmm. Wow, I didn't know they could see that from
yeah,
an ultrasound.
she had like fluid buildup around her head. And so it's like typical of like Down syndrome to have something like that. Like, I guess they call that trisomy 21.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't sure if it
Mm-hmm.
was just
Okay.
Down syndrome or if it was something else. So they did the non-invasive prenatal testing to find out, and it was like
Uh-huh.
91% sure that she had that.
Oh, crushing.
Yeah, it was pretty hard on me because I was just like, oh my gosh, I got pregnant so easily. This is great. It's gonna be awesome. And then it turned out not so awesome, but it was still a blessing, and I still felt very lucky.
Yeah. So where did you go from there? Like, what were you thinking? Like, am I going to try again? Do you need time to grieve?
I was really sad for a long time, but I did want to try again, and I thought, well, it happened so fast last time, it will happen fast this time, but it didn't. So it took a long time, and
Hmm.
it was really hard on me every time there was a negative test or there was no ovulation that month, or just, I mean, every time it was crushing, and it lasted for I think a little over a year before I did get pregnant.
Hmm. So you were doing the ovulation tests.
Yep.
What else were you doing to kind of prepare during that time?
Well, the unfortunate thing is I don't really have a whole lot of finance, so I wasn't doing anything that cost money per se, and I didn't really have like a fertility doctor or anything. I just had my regular OB doctor helping me out, but she would give me tips. I was taking progesterone, and I started taking supplements on my own that I researched on the internet because a lot of doctors don't really believe in those things. But I was taking ubiquinol, which is a form of CoQ10, and I was taking NAC, which is for like immunity boosting, but it also has been proven to help with miscarriages. So I was taking a couple supplements and the progesterone and
Hmm.
testing every month. But
But
yeah, I was getting a lot of negative ovulation tests too, so I just wasn't producing anything.
yeah, you just weren't ovulating at all.
Yeah, as far as the testing was showing, and I would test before, after, during,
Yeah.
like all the time, and nothing was ever showing positive. So
Yeah. But you were still having your cycle. You just weren't ovulating, I guess.
correct. Yep. But I kind of
So,
had some other things going on health wise. I was dealing with, I had a surgery about 3 months before I decided to try for the first time. And the surgery went
yeah,
really
you're
bad.
back.
Yeah, the surgery went really bad on my back, and they had put an implant in there, and it was like wiggling around and like digging a hole into my spine and stuff. So for about 18 months, I was suffering and trying to get into the University of Michigan hospital for a team of doctors to work on it. And during that time was when I was still trying, but my back was in such rough shape. I was so physically in so much pain. I think my body was just telling me no. So as soon as I had that second
Mm-hmm.
surgery, I was pregnant within 2 months.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, I think that
Yeah,
was
I
holding me
remember
back.
you were so excited. Yeah, you were really excited to take this. And I was like, Kayla, this is gonna do it.
I was nervous 'cause I'm like, man, another surgery that sets me back a few months of trying again because you have to heal and you have to physical therapy and all these things. And it was for me almost like a bump in the road, but it ended up being what I needed to do to move forward. So
Yeah. So before you found out you got pregnant, did you do the ovulation test at that time?
no, because we weren't technically trying at that time because I had just gotten the surgery and they had told me I should wait about 6 months. So I really wasn't doing
Mm-hmm.
anything and was kind of starting to give up. And I had already put a time on it. Like, if I'm not pregnant by September next year, a year after my surgery, I'm just going to give up. And I was kind of setting a
Mm-hmm.
goal like, if it doesn't happen, then I'm not going to keep freaking out about it every month and stressing myself out. 'Cause obviously, that's not helpful either. But
Mm-hmm.
it's tough when you really want
Mm-hmm.
something so desperately. So
Yeah. So how did you find out what happened?
I was kind of like, I don't know, I wasn't not feeling well, but I was just kind of tired all the time. And I was just sitting on my couch with my husband. We were just listening to music and talking, and I just stood up, went to the bathroom, and took a test. I don't really know what told me to do that, but I just did, and I was like pretty shocked that I was pregnant. And this was like when I found out it was about 4 months after my surgery, so I didn't know for the first 2 months. So I was about eight
Mm-hmm.
weeks pregnant. Oh
Yeah,
my
what were
God,
you thinking whenever you saw it?
excitement and sadness and like stress and worry. Like, is it going to happen again? Is he going to be, abnormal? Is it going to end in miscarriage? Will he be healthy? I mean, I just was a roller coaster. I was trying to be excited, but it was really hard to like just feel joy, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff.
Yeah, I get that.
And it was scary. It's just like, oh, is this happening again? Like, is it going to end well, or it's just so many unknowns.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us about your pregnancy. How was it?
It was rough. It was stressful. There was just one step at a time. It was first, then we got to get the ultrasound, then we have to get the non-invasive prenatal test, then we have to get the anatomy scan. It's every little step was one step closer to having the baby. Get out of the first trimester, get to the second. Just all these things. So it was just really almost like in the moment. I just had to be very present and try to like just take it one step at a time because once one test came back good, then the next test came back good. And I was trying not to get my hopes up because you just never want to go back to that place that you came from with the first loss.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Well, tell us what was it like getting that test back and saying that he was normal?
Oh, I was like being quiet. It was early in the morning, and probably like 7 in the morning. I was on my phone. It popped up that I got the email. Of course, I was waiting and waiting, but it usually takes 2 weeks. And with when I got Jane's back, it was like within I want to say 6 days. So it was like really fast because something was abnormal. It was just right away. So when it came back so fast, I thought, oh man, it's going to be negative or, abnormal. But when he was normal, I was pretty excited. I didn't want to jinx it by saying it out loud, but I, of course, told Ryan because he's sitting right there drinking coffee. And I'm like, the baby's the boy and he's okay. And then, I got really excited, but I had to rein it in a little. So I'm like, this still doesn't mean he's not deformed in some way or developing abnormal some other way. Maybe not genetically, but maybe physically. And when I called my doctor
Mm-hmm.
the next day, and I was excited about the test, she was like reining me and she's like, well, you still have to get to the anatomy scan. You still have to have the live birth. Like, you still have to do all these things.
Mm.
So don't get too, just because he's not like what Jane had genetically deformed or anything doesn't mean he's not physically. So it was like another wake up call. Like, okay, I can't really get excited yet. Even though it was good news,
Uh-huh.
it was hard to enjoy.
Right. Right. So you did find out he was a boy at the same time. How
Yep.
did you feel about that?
Well, originally we discussed having a boy. That's what we wanted. And then when I had got told I was pregnant with Jane and it was a girl, I did kind of secretly get excited. And then I was not sure what I wanted, and I just wanted it to be healthy. So I was kind of like sad that it wasn't a girl, just because of course, I was thinking of Jane at that moment.
Mm-hmm. Sure. always on your
But
mind too.
just wanted a healthy baby. And like I said, originally we discussed having a boy. So I'm very happy that he's a boy. Trust me. I'm
Yeah.
glad that I'm a boy mom for sure.
How would you describe your pregnancy overall?
It was physically really hard on me. I started getting preeclampsia pretty early on, and it just as I grew, as the baby grew, it just kind of got worse and worse. My feet were so swollen, I could barely stand up after, towards the end, and it was just really hard. Plus, I'm, stressing out about it the whole time. It was not an enjoyable pregnancy for me. And I see some other women, and they're just like, "Oh, I'm glowing, and everything's great, and I love being pregnant." I'm like, I hated it. It was hard. I don't know if it's my age or what, but it was rough on me. Plus my
Yeah.
back's, was still healing a little bit, so all the weight, was a little bit scary on that part too. Like, is it gonna mess up my surgery or am I gonna hurt my back? There's a lot of things going on there.
Hmm. Yeah. What about your doctor? Did you use your doctor that you've always used?
At the place that I went to, it's like a women's health center, so they have rotating doctors. It's just who's ever there that day. Sometimes you see like a nurse practitioner or the OB or whatever they call them, like the other people. But I didn't really have a midwife or anything like that, so I just kind of used whatever they had. But the main doctor that was helping me, that helped me through losing Sweet Jane and stuff, she was kind of the one that I would text or ask questions for, or she'd call me prescriptions. And so I kind of did have a main doctor in a sense, but when I went to my regular appointments, it's somebody different every time.
Was there anything that, like any products or anything that you could recommend that helped during pregnancy?
I do recommend that you get the ubiquinol. Like I said, it's a form of CoQ10, so you don't want to just buy CoQ10. That's not exactly what you need. The ubiquinol has a different way that your body absorbs it. And so it's been,
Hmm.
there's some studies backing that it does help egg quality. It's not necessarily FDA approved by any means, but it is a little pricey, but it was definitely worth it. NAC, which I don't really know how to pronunciate what the NAC stands for, but there is actual scientific back information that backs up that it does support helping with miscarriages. So I took that up until after the first trimester, then I stopped. But the ubiquinol,
Hmm.
I took all the way for that whole year that I was trying to get pregnant.
How did you prepare for birth and his arrival?
Oh my gosh, I took so many classes online. I paid for a couple of them. I read everything I could. I made a birthing plan, but of course, none of that stuff mattered and none of it helped, and nothing worked out as it was supposed to. So I felt like I was going to be the most prepared by doing all these things, and nothing prepares you for what's to come. So you just kind of
Hmm.
have to go with it.
Yeah. What classes did you take?
There was on the baby academy, so they had like a birthing class. There was like starting foods, like stuff that you don't even need to worry about for a long time when you first have the baby. But there was I don't know, they offer a bunch of free ones, like a hypnobirthing thing where you can learn different ways to, like, tune it out and that kind of stuff, or if you want to do a natural birth. So I took every one that they had for free, and then I paid for the big one. So it
Hmm.
was, I mean, they were helpful, but like I said, just doesn't prepare you for what you actually go through physically, emotionally, mentally when you do see the baby and have the baby. It definitely isn't anything they can teach you
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
learn
It's
from a
one thing.
class.
Right. It's one thing to get all that information, and then when it's actually happening, you're like, I forget everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's hard to apply it in the moment. You just have to just go with it.
Yeah. What did you have any cravings or anything?
I honestly did not notice anything unusual. I did have morning sickness for the first 3 months. It was pretty bad, but it wasn't even just the morning, it was all day. I wasn't actually like vomiting or anything, but I was so nauseous. Like I would get dizzy and just I was really tired. Once I got through that, I mean, I was good for the middle part for the second trimester. I was actually pretty happy and I kind of had that little bit of glow and I was like getting excited, but then the third trimester came and I was big and heavy and I had the preeclampsia really bad, so I started struggling again. So it was tough
Mm-hmm.
on me.
Yeah. Did you take anything for the nausea?
I don't believe so. I think they just had me cut out, like, no coffee or any kind of caffeine. I would just eat bland foods and just
Mm-hmm.
kind of try to get through the day, but there really wasn't anything. I don't recall taking anything, no.
Mm-hmm. Did you change your diet at all, like afterwards, like this after the nausea?
No, no, I just kind of tried to eat healthy and try to make sure that I was eating more. I didn't usually eat breakfast, so I started having to try to force myself to eat in the mornings. You got to try to nourish your body while you're, nourishing a body. So it's tough to try to get those foods in, especially when you're not feeling good. Even after the nausea went away, it was still hard to eat for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's get to the birth story. So you were like really early, I would say. Like you were what, 36 weeks whenever it started?
I was, like I said, I was struggling with preeclampsia, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And they were monitoring me, obviously, and I got kind of sick, started feeling like I was getting a cold. And it turned out that they tested me for COVID. It was the first time I ever had a positive COVID test. And once that happened, my blood pressure went over 200. So they decided to induce me. I was actually 35 weeks when they started, but it took a whole week from when they started to induce me till I had the baby. It was like 6 days. And
that's right.
And because of the preeclampsia, they had to put me on that magnesium stuff. And so I couldn't even get out of bed. I was like literally just bedridden, just had to lay there. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. And it makes you feel really sick. Like they were giving me too much, and I started kind of like almost fading out. I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it. Like I felt like I was dying. It was kind of scary. And then they kind of took it back a little bit, but they had to have me on it to save my life. So it was like kind of one of those things where it's saving my life, but it was hard on me. It was making me sick. I couldn't see right. I was like not talking very well. Like it was like really kind of scary, but I needed it to live. But they had me on that, and they just kept putting different, induction drugs, like whatever, like the Pitocin and all that kind of stuff. They just kept doing it until it was about, I think, 5.5, 6 days before it started even like dilating.
Oh my gosh.
And
I was,
yeah, and I was sick with COVID, and then I got ear infection, then I had a tooth infection, so my whole body was just shutting down. It was scary. I was like, am I going to make it out of this? Like, hopefully, I want my baby to make it, but he was doing fine. They kept the monitors on, and he was like, just, his heartbeat was strong. He was just doing great in there. But it was me who was struggling, so it was a long week for sure. And then, yeah, finally, after being sick and just laying there, not moving, they were like, push. I'm like, yeah, okay, let me try that because I'm so, weak from all the infections and the sickness and the medicine they had me on. It was scary to think about trying to push at that moment because I had no strength at all.
Yeah. So were you on an epidural that whole week also?
The first, I want to say 3 days, I was not, because I was planning on not getting one at all. But after I kept getting weaker and weaker, I was like, there's no way I'm going to make it. Like, I didn't even feel like I was going to make it in general, but I was like, I have to get it, because at this point I'm so physically just drained. I have no strength. I need something to help me get through. And the pain was starting to, there wasn't really contractions, but I was, starting to feel something happening there. So I went ahead and had them do it. But because of my back surgery, they had to move it up a notch, and I don't know, I was like a little nervous about that, because I'm like, that's not where they normally put it, so they're not doing their normal job, they're doing it something that's different for them. And then of course it didn't really work very well. When they first did it, they like kind of zinged or whatever. They're like, well, we're gonna back it out and redo it. So they did it a second time, and then it only worked on like half of my body. So like my right side, I could move my leg, I could feel everything, and on the left side was completely dead. So it was,
wow.
It was like I was so scared to get it, and then of course mine didn't work, or like it went, weird. It was like this kind of way, like halfway like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really a weird sensation too, because like I said, I could feel one leg, I could move it myself. The other leg, I had to like move it with my arms or have a nurse move it. So I did end up getting it, and I don't regret it, but it was also not what I expected. I had a complete birth plan, and nothing went as expected at all. I didn't want to do the epidural. I didn't want to be induced, all these things. I wanted to hold my baby right afterwards. The only thing that I did get was that I did still have a vaginal birth, but even that wasn't exactly as planned, because they did use a vacuum. So it was a vacuum assisted vaginal birth, and it was induced.
Yeah. So go back to like when they were telling you to push, like what was happening? Can you kind of tell the story from there?
Yeah, there was actually about 6 female doctors in there. It was probably one of the most like woman powered situation I've ever been in. 'Cause they're all like, "You can do it, push!" And there was just so many women like cheering me on who had done it, and I was like, "I can't do it. I'm so sick, and I'm on all these drugs they had me going on, and I wasn't in my right mind. I had the epidural. I was just all kind of like not feeling like I could do it, but they just kept cheering me on, and I just never gave up. And I got it. His head started kind of coming out, and they were like, "We could try this." They were just doing. They really were doing everything in their power to not resort to C-section because that's not something I did want. But there was at one point I was pretty sure I'm like, just cut him out, just cut him out, like freaking out because I just couldn't do it anymore. So they did do the vacuum. They tried it twice, and he finally came out on the third try. 'Cause they're only allowed to try it, I think, 3 times. It's only safe to do. And if it doesn't work at that point and I couldn't push, they would have had to do a C-section. But thankfully that we got to avoid that part.
Yeah, was the vacuum like painful for you or anything?
I didn't see it. I didn't feel it. I didn't hear it. I don't know. It's like almost like a little cup that they stick on the baby's head, and it kind of just suctions him out. It's not really, like, I don't know if it doesn't look like a vacuum, obviously. It's like a little hose and a little cup. And they stick it on his head, and it kind of pulls him out. But his head did kind of come out like a little cone shaped at first, but it's back to normal now, so that's good.
Yeah. And what happened from there?
Well, from there, they tried to put him up on my chest, but my umbilical cord was so short, he only went up to my belly button, so I couldn't even see him or feel him really or hold him. And then the NICU came and took him right away. So I didn't get to see him or hold him or anything. They just whisked him off.
So why did they take him?
Because he was basically almost 4.5 weeks early. They were, concerned with his breathing. And they had given me medicine prior to that. I don't remember what it was called 'cause it's been so long, but they gave me some kind of shot, and that was supposed to help develop his lungs faster before they did the induction because they do have a lot of breathing problems when they're first born like that. And I think everything that they did was in precaution. Not necessarily, nothing was wrong with Gerald per se, but they did have him on a ventilator. They had him hooked up to an IV. Like when I did finally see him, he was in the incubator. Everything was more just a precaution to make sure that he was going to be okay, but all the machines and all the things came off within a few days, so he ended up being fine. But they did take him away, and because I had COVID, they had to put him in a special portion of the NICU, so it was just him in there with one nurse 24 hours a day in this little incubator. It was really hard to see him hooked up to all those machines for that many days, and he was all alone in there, so...
And so when was the first time you got to hold him?
It was about 24 hours later because I wasn't able to get out of bed because of the magnesium, so they had to keep me on it to make sure that my blood pressure was going to drop after the baby, because usually preeclampsia does resolve itself after the birth. So they had to, find a nurse to wheelchair me up there with my IV and all my stuff because I couldn't walk, and I don't really know why it took that long, but it was about 24 hours before I got to actually hold him. But I got to see him probably 15 hours after or something like that. They let me go up there and just look at him through the incubator, but I didn't get to hold him for a whole day. It was really hard.
Yeah. What was it like holding him for the first time?
It was kind of scary because I'm hooked up to a bunch of stuff and he's hooked up to a bunch of stuff, and there's this picture, and I got like IVs and bracelets everywhere from all the different hospitals I went to, and he's hooked up to like 3 different things from the NICU, and he's like kind of coming out of the thing with all these wires, and it was scary. It was, I mean, I was trying to be happy, but it was more like, it's so sad he's like this, and I'm so sad that I'm like this, and we're both just hooked up to wires and crying. But it was beautiful in its own way, but it was scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. So how long did it take for like the swelling and stuff to go down?
For me?
Yeah.
They kept me on the magnesium for about 3 days. I was in the hospital for about 8 days altogether. Well, about 4 after the baby. So they kept me and they had me on the magnesium again. Like I said, they took me off about a couple days later, and I wasn't able to walk for about 4 days. And when I did finally get up there, I walked up all by myself to the NICU. So I guess I would say the swelling probably went down within about 6 days. And the
Okay.
preeclampsia started to go down. My blood pressure was going down.
Mm-hmm.
But I was pretty in rough shape still just from being on all that stuff they had me on.
Yeah, did they worry about you like leaving without all of your swelling going down?
They did monitor me closely and they gave me Labetalol or something like that. It's like for high blood pressure. And I took
Mm-hmm.
that with me and I had to, or Labetalol or something like that, but I had to take it twice a day, so in the morning and at night, and then I had to go back to visit their doctors at the hospital that I had birth
Mm-hmm.
once a week for the like a couple weeks there to
Mm-hmm.
like get tested and have my blood pressure checked and things like that because they were worried. They didn't want me to leave when I started pushing really hard to get out of there. It was about like a week deep and I was like, I need to get out of here. Like for my own mental health, I want to go home. Like my baby's
Yeah.
not coming with me as it is, so like I want to get out of here. I need to start taking care of myself. I'm just laying in a hospital bed being sad that my baby's not with me. So I
Yeah.
just kind of pushed really hard for them to let me leave, and they only let me leave if I agreed to come back. Like I said, about it was like once a week or something like that for about a month to be
Mm-hmm.
checked. So they did monitor me very closely though.
Yeah. And what's so fascinating is that I got pregnant before you.
Mhm.
And so I was late and you were already having your baby before I ever did, which is just so funny.
It was kind of crazy. I think you were 2 weeks overdue and I was 4 weeks early, so it was like a whole 6 weeks there
Yeah.
in between that. I should have had Gerald long after you.
Yeah. Yeah. So funny. Well, how was the rest of your recovery? Just aside from all the swelling and stuff.
You know, it was really hard and stressful for me trying to balance, taking care of myself and then trying to find a way to take care of Gerald Wise in the NICU. And they're great. The nurses are great. They're helpful. They try to show you things. They try to let you do everything that you want to do. If you want to be there and you want to change diapers and change his clothes, they try to encourage you to do those things, but it's still not the same. You got people watching you and there's like nurses right there and like there's wires everywhere and noises and beeping and other babies crying, and it's very awkward and weird, and you're trying to see your baby. You just want to snatch him up and hold him. They're watching you and you can't really do that. You can only do certain things, and it was just a lot to try to take care of myself. And then I at first tried to stay in the mother's rooms, is what they call it. It's like next to the NICU.
Mhm.
You can sleep in these little rooms, but it's literally enough room for a bed. It's like a tiny little like closet, and you're there
Mhm.
alone. You can't, I was there alone, and I'm just like in this little prison room. It felt like, and yeah, I could walk to the NICU, but then again, I'm like, I'm not home. I'm not resting. I'm crying. I'm trying to pump every 3 hours. There's no milk coming, and you're just like, it was a lot. So after 3 nights of that, I decided to go home, and of course I didn't sleep because I'm like, I left my baby, it's about 20 minutes away, so it's a far drive, and I felt guilty about leaving the hospital, but I was just so drained. I just wanted to see my dog and my two cats and my husband, and I just wanted to be home in like comfortable clothes, not hospital clothes. And it was a really tough decision, but as the days went on, I found a healthy routine with going to the NICU in the morning, spending all day, leaving for lunch, coming back for night, and then just going home to sleep, because you're going to drive yourself crazy if you try to stay up there 24 hours a day. It's just not going to work. And you're so
Yeah.
physically exhausted. There was no point. You're not helping the baby in any way by doing that. So I had to really learn how to control the mom guilt and just
Mhm.
try to take care of myself. It was rough.
Mhm. And tell us, how long did he stay in the NICU and when did your milk come in and that happen?
So I was pumping every 3 hours, like on a very tight schedule. I didn't get
You
milk
were.
for probably, yeah, I didn't get milk for probably 5 days. I mean, there was a little bit coming out, but we're talking like minuscule amounts. And I was frustrated with that because I didn't want Gerald to have formula. And the NICU does give you donor milk. You do get human milk, but you only get 1 ounce. You get 1 ounce, and it feeds a newborn for quite a few days. But after that, they give him formula if you don't have milk yet, which I didn't. So they, of course, gave him formula, which I didn't really want. But of course, he can't just not eat, so I had to let them do that.
Mhm.
But yeah, it took about 5 days for me to start getting some milk, but I mean enough to feed Gerald. I didn't start getting that milk until maybe a month or two. It took a
Yeah.
while. Yeah, I had to fortify the breast milk with a little scoop of formula for about 2 months, I would say.
Hmm. And
So,
what was it like taking him home from the hospital finally?
so scary. Putting him in the car seat, he was
Scary.
so tiny. He was only 5 pounds, 6 ounces, so he was really little, and the car seat looked so big. And, he was originally supposed to get out after 7 days, and then he had like a heart issue in the middle of the night. Like, I guess his heart rate dropped and his breathing dropped, so they wanted to monitor him for 3 more days. And I said, okay. And they wanted to give him something called LASIK, which is supposed to help with breathing. It's like some kind of medicine, and so they wanted to give that to him, and then they wanted to monitor him for 3 more days, and then it was, then he had something else come up, and they're like, we need to monitor him for 4 more days. So I was supposed to take him home after less than a week, and it ended up being 17 days. So by the time that it came, I was so worried: is he going to breathe? Is his heart going to drop? Now he's not going to have the machines hooked up to him that I'm used to hearing and watching, where I could see his heart rate, and I could see his oxygen, I could see all these things, and that's all that control is going to be gone, and you're just going to be like home with this baby who might not breathe or might not have his heart beating. It was stressful and scary to take him home because I didn't know what I was doing, for one, but also, worried about how he's going to do.
Hmm. Yeah.
It was tough. And still pump every 3 hours because he
Hmm.
wasn't breastfeeding. And that's part of
Yeah.
why it took him a week. Originally was the reason why they kept him at first was because they needed him to drink from the bottle, and he wasn't really suckling properly or drinking enough, and had to feed him through a little feeding tube for the first whole week. So it was tough seeing that too. He's got like a little feeding tube up his nose and just pushing formula in there. It was terrible. But
Ugh.
getting home with him and adjusting to that and pumping every 3 hours, it was a rough couple months, but eventually we got the hang of things.
Hmm. And how do you want to talk about your breastfeeding journey?
Again, it's one of those things where some women, it just so whoop, right at birth, they just put the baby to the breast and everybody's happy, and it's like, clouds open up and it's like, oh, but that was not what happened to me. Like I said, I started pumping while he was in the NICU, and I pumped every 3 hours, and I did that for about 6 months solid. And then eventually I just never gave up. Every now and then I would try to get him to latch, and I would say maybe somewhere between 4 and 6 months he would a little bit. And so I was like really excited that I got to experience that. But as he got a little older, I would say from 6 months to about 12 months, I would just breastfeed him for naps or in the middle of the night. And I would still pump every 3 hours just to get that, make sure he's getting enough because of his prematurity. They wanted to make sure he was taking a certain amount and everything. And I would just kind of breastfed as it worked for us when it did. And it was awesome that I did get to experience that. And I never gave up, after 6 months trying to get him to latch on, because that was something I really desired, was to have that experience. I mean, yes, pumping milk and giving it to him is breastfeeding, but it's not quite the same.
Hmm. Yeah, you are one determined chick.
Yeah, I was definitely being stubborn. I didn't want to give up at all, and I just kept pushing it, and eventually he took on to it, and we were both happy with that. So
Yeah. And what's super cool is we really ended our breastfeeding journey together.
yeah, it was awesome to have that, such a good support. Because I was like, again, getting that mom guilt. You're like, I want to stop, but I want to keep giving it to him. But it's so hard, and it's been so long, and every day I was so ready to just stop. And I'm so grateful that I had your support during that time, because I felt like I was giving up, even though I knew I wasn't, and you were always there to cheer me on. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, and you're in like quitting plan was my plan.
Exactly, and it worked out pretty much the same. So that was
It really
pretty.
did.
Yeah, it was like at least that kind of synchronized, even though the babies were born all different, 4 weeks early and 2 weeks late.
Yeah, we were on sync, that's for sure.
And that's awesome to kind of like get to compare notes with somebody. Our babies are pretty much a couple days apart, technically.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, is he walking? Is he talking? Is he starting solids was like one of the worst things for me. I had such a hard time, and Gerald had such a hard time. And then one day it just clicked, and he just started eating. It was crazy. So just
Yeah.
keep that in mind when you're getting there with your babies, whoever listening. Like, just keep trying. Never give up because eventually they will get it. It just may take longer than you think, maybe longer than you want, maybe longer than you're told that they should. But every baby's different. Everybody's different, and one day it just clicks and they just do it. So
Yeah.
they will eat.
Eventually, yeah.
Right. But it was like, I want you to eat so I can stop breastfeeding.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, have you gotten your ring in yet?
I have not. It should be coming within the next month or so. I ordered it. I thought I timed it out, but she said 6 to 7 months, so she's a little bit behind. But I'm thinking it's going to come in the next couple of weeks, and I'm really excited about that because, like I said, breastfeeding was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life. So, like, some people it's easy, and some people it's not, and some babies get it. But I'm excited to have that piece of jewelry, so I'll never forget.
Yeah, tell the listeners what the ring is.
So there's a lot of different places that make it. They even sell kits. You can make it yourself, but they take your breast milk and they kind of reduce it down and with heat, and it becomes like a powder. And then they put it in a resin, like in a ring. You can get it in a bracelet, earrings, any kind of, even like a little keepsake, like a little keychain. And it's pretty cool because it's a stone made from your breast milk.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I
Yeah.
use is a lady on Instagram. It's called Love by the Ounce, and she's really great. And she's always posting like uplifting like reels about breastfeeding, like never giving up, and just things completely relate to with my journey, and things I'm sure any other people do because there's always different ones. But yeah, she does really great work. I'm excited to get my jewelry and see how it turned out.
Yeah. That's going to
You,
be special.
yeah, and you can customize it. There's different things you can put in there. I got opal flakes in mine, so I like the little rainbowy fleckles. Should be pretty cool.
Mentally, how were you during postpartum?
I did have my placenta encapsulated, and so I was taking that, and I believe that it seemed to work great. I didn't have any issues with depression. I didn't have any issues. Like my milk supply came back pretty good with that too. It's supposed to boost your milk supply, help your mood. Physically, I felt like I healed faster. My bleeding stopped within, I think it was 4 weeks instead of the whole 6. Like I stopped bleeding it pretty
What?
early. Yeah.
4. Oh my gosh, you got so lucky.
And that's what they say it helps with, but I do think that helped a lot with my postpartum, like as far as the physical aspect of it. They say, eating your placenta, however you do it, is supposed to put all those hormones back into your body instead of just stripping them all at once. Because basically, when you have the baby and you deliver the placenta, all those hormones leave your body, and it just like tanks. So if you kind of put them back in slowly, you're kind of weaning yourself off of those hormones. It's kind of the idea of eating the placenta, I guess. But yeah, I had mine encapsulated, and I'm really glad I did that. It was kind of expensive, about $500, but it was worth it, and it seemed to help a lot. I didn't really have. That's the only thing I guess I would say was easy for me would be postpartum.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah, after everything I went through, it was almost like you know.
Yeah. Something. Make something
Right.
easy.
But yeah, I didn't have any issues there.
Is there anything else you want to mention about being postpartum or recovery or anything?
Just you just got to give yourself time. It's a hard thing you just went and did. You just built bones from your bones and blood from your blood, and your body's tired. So, just do what you can to get by. And the weight, don't worry about losing the weight, because I had a moment where I was like, I got to lose all this baby weight and do all this stuff, and you feel all this pressure from society to bounce back, but you're over 40, so it's not going to work that way. So just give yourself grace is all I can really say to anybody else too. You just got to love yourself and your baby at the same time, which can be hard, but it's a juggling act you get better at.
Do you have plans to have more kids in your 40s?
No. One and done. I'm absolutely one and done. He's a blessing, and I love him, and I wouldn't change it for the world, but just I went through so much. I don't want to risk my life or another baby's life in that sense, just because I had the preeclampsia so bad that if you do get pregnant, it's almost likely you'll get it instantly. So it's like if you've had it before, I guess it's a thing that's reoccurring. It would be dangerous almost also. But yeah, I think I never wanted kids before, like I said, so I feel like I'm pretty content with one. I don't know if I would want multiples. I never thought about it past that. But after having Gerald, and I was like, oh, he's so special, and like maybe another one would be nice. There was a couple times I had the thought, but I was like, physically, I don't think I would do well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to just be one and done and be grateful that I have Gerald and he's healthy. And I had my time with Jane, and I'm grateful for that too, even though she didn't make it.
And what has been your biggest challenge being pregnant over 40?
Just getting pregnant, I guess, really, and people telling me you can't do it, it'll never happen, you're too old, your eggs are too old, it's never going to happen. I had a lot of people tell me that, and I got to prove them wrong, I guess. So I mean, I'm just happy that happened, and I'm grateful that everything worked out for the most part. Yeah, I had a lot of troubles getting there, but it all ended up great, and Gerald's healthy now, and he's 13 months, and we're doing good. We're getting in the swing of things of being a mom and a son, so it's nice to kind of see myself change too, because there's just things I never thought I'd be doing, like carrying a diaper bag and loading a baby into a car seat. These are things I just never desired or pictured myself doing as a 20-year-old, so doing it in my 40s, I feel like no regrets at all. Like, this was my time to shine because I've done all the things that I wanted to do, and I'm not gonna feel like a kid's holding me back from anything. And in fact, I felt like I was missing something in my life. Maybe it was that one thing, and I feel totally complete now. So I think having a kid later in life isn't necessarily a bad thing, and people shouldn't always put a negative thing on it, like, you're so old and he's going to be, you'll be in your 60s when he graduates. But it's like, my mom's in her 60s and she's babysits him, so she's doing just fine. I'm sure I'll be fine.
Your mom is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, I love her a lot. She's been super helpful, and going back to work wasn't as scary because I did have that support for her to watch him instead of having to put him in a kind of daycare setting or with strangers or a babysitter. Mm-hmm. It's his grandma, so she's there for him, and I'm just glad that I have her still around, even though she's older now and I'm older, and Gerald's still little, but we're doing good. We're making it work.
And is there anything you would recommend that would prepare someone for birth and pregnancy over 40?
There's nothing to prepare you for it. Like I said, I tried to prepare myself for it. It's amazing, and it's scary, and it's beautiful, and it's all the things, and yeah, it hurts, and those things, but you don't remember that after it's over. It's gone and over, and all you see is that beautiful face and how much they need you, and your heart just opens up and bursts open, and it's a wonderful, beautiful thing to see. It's almost like, a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. You just completely change, and your world completely changed, some for the better, some for the worst. It's crazy and chaotic, but I would never regret it in my life. So anybody who's trying, never give up, keep trying. You'll get there. You just gotta, put a little bit of faith in there. And even if you're struggling with whatever you got going on, just never give up is all I can really say. Because if I would have gave up all the times they told me, I wouldn't have Gerald.
And what advice would you give yourself when you are pregnant if you could go back?
I would say try to enjoy it, because I didn't enjoy a single second of it. Not necessarily because I was struggling physically or because of my age, but because of what had happened with Jane and just the constant worry. And I just didn't feel like I felt any joy about it. I wasn't allowed to feel happy about it because, like, is he going to be born at all? And it was just, I really wish I had taken a few more moments to just say, hey, you're pregnant, be happy, be grateful, it's going to be okay no matter what the outcome, because you don't realize, like, even if you have a miscarriage, it's still a special time for you and that baby, and it's still meaningful, and it doesn't make it any less meaningful just because they weren't a live birth. You got to enjoy it for what it is, and try not to, let yourself get carried away with the anxiety or the stress, because I really just made myself sick basically the whole time I was pregnant instead of just being happy.
Yeah, you mean sick with worry and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. And then that's obviously not good for your body and your physical, for the baby. You're constantly stressing out. You're stressing the baby out. You're already over 40, so you do have some things working against you, but it's not impossible. And we both did it, so here we are.
That's right. Is there anything else you want to add before we end the show?
Yeah, just like I said, if you're out there trying, I just say never give up, and just keep doing what you can, and every little thing that you do makes a difference. So I wish everybody the best of luck in their pregnancy journeys or their breastfeeding journeys or wherever you're at in your journey. If you have a toddler like we do, it's getting crazy. So buckle up.
And where can our listeners find you on the internet?
I have Instagram and Facebook, so it's Kayla Schmidt. My Instagram is somegirl420, and I think that's about it.
Well, Kayla, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and I'm glad to be a part of your show because you've been a huge part of my journey. So I found your page on Instagram thinking I needed some kind of support because I kept hearing, you're never going to do it, and there's this page, I was like, man, this is exactly what I need in my life. So I'm just glad I hit follow and we started talking, and you've been a huge support for me, and your show has been an inspiration for me to never give up myself. So I appreciate that.
And thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you every other Monday.